Hey, welcome back to Project Me, day 61 or 62 or something. We're back into it, and glad to be back into it because I've decided I want to keep doing essentially what I've been doing for the last bit, which is just reflecting when I need to on an ad hoc basis, as opposed to what I was doing at the beginning of this project, which was, taking every day to make a video to reflect on the day and talk about what went wrong, what happened, and I just find that that approach is just a little bit more than a little bit, um, monotonous and just doesn't add much value to me or to much less anyone else. So this way, I only do it when I need to and something needs to be addressed. Besides that, just carry on through life. And that's okay. Okay, so on to today's reflection. The main bit I just wanted to focus on was I noticed myself sort of pulling away in certain discussions. Now, what does that mean? For context, yesterday I was studying with a friend. This friend is a law student who does a conjoint degree of philosophy, and she majors in logic. She majors in logic. She is incredibly intelligent in the sense that she is a very intuitive thinker. She's able to grasp concepts like that, and it is incredible. That is what I think the true measure of intelligence is. Being able to understand concepts like that, and then being able to critique them. Right, whether you agree with them or not is besides the point. It's whether you can grasp the thrust of what a certain point is or a certain type of thinking. Right. There's a difference between education and intuition. And together they are a very nasty combination. She has that nasty combination. Now, because she also does that major in logic, she can be infuriating to be around because on the surface her logic seems very sound and she puts out all these logical arguments, and it's very hard. Let's just say you don't want to be on the other side of a discussion, the other side of a point of hers. Okay, now that's the context. Now, yesterday we were talking, we were studying together, we go out to grab some lunch, we sit down, we're talking about, I think the conversation was about equity and equality, and our views on either. We get into the discussion, and I put out a few ideas, she critiques them, and she explains why she thinks they're wrong. She tries to point out double standards or holes in my argument, which is all well and good. And while she does that, I feel myself sort of pulling back, sort of withdrawing. And I've thought about it since because it bothered me. This isn't the first time either, which is why this is coming to a point where I actually have to address it. So I've thought about it, and there's a few reasons for why I think I feel myself withdrawing. First of all, the easiest, most obvious, perhaps answer to an objective observer is that I might be feeling defensive about having my points critiqued, and so I get into this, tunnel vision mindset of no, my view is right, whatever. That's obviously the answer that leaps out the quickest. I think that may be a factor, but I don't think it's the entire story. The other part of it, which I think is most of why I'm withdrawing, is that I'm not as intuitive of a thinker as she is. So she's putting out these ideas, she's making these arguments, and it's taking me quite a bit of effort and concentration to understand what she's saying, and I still don't understand what she's saying until perhaps after the discussion when I've actually had time to process it and think about it. And so during the discussion when she's making these points, I'm sitting there and I feel myself withdrawing, I think partly so I can become single-minded in my effort to understand what she's saying. So I furrow my brows, I sort of closed body language as I'm trying to focus really hard on what she's saying, and I can feel myself, like I said, I can feel myself withdrawing while I do this, and I suspect it's a combination of those two things. Mostly the latter, the second one, as opposed to being defensive. No one likes being proven wrong, everyone wants their logic to be sound, everyone wants their view to prevail, but at the end of the day, it's very unlikely in the grand scheme of things, right? There's always a bigger fish, and I have no problem being the smaller fish. I think it's really good. Being critiqued, so long as it's done respectfully, of course. Have to qualify that. But what really bothered me was when I feel myself withdrawing, and then she'd make her point, because I'm not able to grasp it as quickly, or perhaps because I just have a communication problem and I'm not able to as easily articulate my thoughts and my beliefs as well as she has, I find myself unable to respond to what she said as effectively as I feel I should. Right. So again, there's those two reasons. The first, I just feel like I cannot articulate what's actually going on in here. And the second, of course, I'm just so single-minded in my effort to understand her that it feels like I've got no brain capacity or brain RAM or space left to think and form a coherent response. Right, so I think it's a combination of those two things for why I'm unable to effectively rebut or put out my points as I think I should. And that's bothered me. So there's the three issues there, well, four issues I suppose. There's the defensiveness. There is the I don't want to say incapacity or inability to think intuitively, because that undermines, what intelligence I feel like I do have. But I'm certainly not able to think intuitively as she does. So those two issues come together under that withdrawing issue. Then the other two things, communication problem, and what was the other one? Oh, whatever. It was just a few seconds ago. Those come under communication, let's just say. So that bothered me. I'm not sure there's anything I can do at the moment about the intuition and the understanding part. That might just come with time. I'm much more of a reader. I learn by reading. I don't learn by listening. I find it really hard to follow what people say in general when they speak to me. Unless, I'm recently educated on the topic and I can actually engage with what they're saying, or if we're staying on an equal footing. And yesterday, I don't think we were. She'd very clearly thought about all this before. I never really properly formed a coherent basis for my view before, so we're a bit of an uneven footing there. And again, that manifested in how I was unable to communicate my beliefs. Right. Now, for the other one, what was the other one? Damn it. Oh, right, the energy thing. I just didn't have enough energy or mental space left in my head to formulate a response because I was so focused on trying to understand what she said. Yeah, again, that'll just sort of falls under the first issue as well. It overlaps. But specifically focusing on the communication problem, I don't know how to better that. I think that might just be, taking time to think about what I believe before I say it. Because it's not that I'm unable to think critically about all this. I mean, I came home and I wrote out exactly what I should have said. And I was able to do that at my own pace, very slow. I just couldn't do that in the moment. Right. And so maybe it's just a thing I just hadn't, formed coherent thoughts to effectively share those coherent thoughts. Or it was just, I had the thoughts in my head, after I wrote them down. I just didn't have the soft skill to communicate them. If it's the latter, if it's the second, I don't know what I can do about that. I mean, reading is always good. Writing is always good, and it'll come with time, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm just not sure. Just not sure. It's a tricky one. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I came home and I wrote out everything I should have said. And I wrote it as logically as I could. Proposition 1. If proposition 1 is true. Okay, proposition 1, proposition 2. If you can show proposition 1 and 2 are true, then therefore conclusion must be true. So I wrote things like that. Just different logical sets. What is it? Oh, yeah, I can't remember the actual names of the logical phrases that I used, but hopefully you understand the premise. It's not that important. I don't want to get into a discussion about equity and equality. But anyways, I digress. The other thing I wanted to talk about was Dead Poets Society, the movie. I watched that movie when I was quite young. It's had an enormous impact on me. I find myself sympathizing and empathizing with the characters quite a bit. It reminds me of aspects of my own life. And I was reading poetry the other day, and I came across the actual "Oh Captain, My Captain" poem. And it was devastating. It really was. It was devastating. Because not only was it very much an allegory, no, not an allegory, a metaphor for the movie's plot, and so therefore tragic, but just a very sad poem as it is. But there are some beautiful lines in here. Like the way the words flow from one to the other in a whole line is just exquisite. I mean, there are very few poems that I think have this sort of wordplay, and it's just so smooth. You won't ever hear me talking about poems very often. I love my poetry, but I just thought I'd share this because if you've seen Dead Poet Society, if it's had an impact on you, highly recommend reading the poem. And if you're an appreciator of poetry, it's a great poem in my view. At least I'm a big fan of Walt Whitman, and I'm shocked I hadn't actually read this poem before. But I just want to share one line with you. Oh, I don't know if I can share it. I might just have to share the whole stanza. Oh, but I shouldn't. Take it off. No, you have to do it yourself. From fearful trip, the victor ship comes in with object one. Just a beautiful line. Anyways, I digress. I just wanted to share that bit with you. Highly recommend reading the poem out loud if you can. It's just a beautiful, beautiful tragic poem, and wonderful relevance to a lot of things. But anyways, I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful week, day, night, evening, morning, second breakfast, afternoon tea, whatever it may be. All the best, guys. Cheers.